You ever see someone destroy their entire world with one phone call? I watched it happen right in front of me, my HOA president calling the cops to arrest me on my own damn property, only for her face to freeze solid the moment I pulled out my badge. That was the exact second her 8-year reign of intimidation finally cracked and collapsed. I moved to 47 Lakefront Drive for peace. That's it. After 30 years commanding state police operations, late-night emergencies, endless radio chatter, political pressure, all of it, I just wanted a quiet lake, a wooden deck, and the sound of water instead of sirens. My first morning there felt like a promised sunrise spilling across the lake, steam rising from my coffee, a silence so complete I could almost feel my pulse slowing down. That peace lasted 47 minutes. I heard footsteps on my gravel driveway, sharp, confident, entitled footsteps, the kind of steps people take when they're used to immediate obedience. I turned and saw her, a woman in her late 40s, hair sprayed into a perfect blonde helmet, navy blazer, shiny HOA president badge pinned like some kind of law enforcement credential. She wasn't smiling. She was announcing herself with her face. "Good morning," she said, but it wasn't a greeting. It was a command. "I'm Beverly Cromwell, president of the Lake Harmony HOA. You must be the new resident requiring immediate processing." Processing, as if I were a package she needed to sort. She stepped directly between me and my truck, blocking the driveway, clipboard in hand, papers tucked neatly but aggressively under her arm. She handed me a membership packet initiation fee, $2, $500 monthly dues, $300 plus 50 pages of guidelines and signatures. I skimmed it and said, "County records show this property isn't in your HOA." Her smile twitched with irritation. "That's impossible. All lakefront properties fall under our jurisdiction. Every single one." Then she showed me her map. It was hand-drawn. The boundaries expanded like a kid using a crayon too wide. She'd redrawn the entire lake into her control. Neighbors started drifting outside, pretending to water plants, walking dogs that didn't need walking, sweeping porches already clean. Watching. Curious. Nervous. Beverly leaned in slightly. "Previous owners paid without issue. Perhaps they forgot to tell you." "They didn't," I said. "And this map isn't official." Her face tightened. The sunlight caught her badge as she lifted her chin. "Everyone pays. Everyone follows community standards. If you refuse, Mr. Dawson, you'll find our enforcement methods very effective." That was her first threat, not even subtle. After she walked away, the old woman next door, Margaret, stepped toward the property line and whispered, "Please be careful. The last family who pushed back, she made their lives hell." I wanted to laugh it off, but something in her voice stopped me. She wasn't warning me out of gossip, she was afraid. Still, I didn't pay the fee, which is when things got interesting. 48 hours later, a bright red property violation notice was taped to my front door. It accused me of unauthorized lake access and threatened $200 a day fines. Beverly soon pulled up with 3 neighbors playing the role of an inspection team. They had matching clipboards, a tape measure, and the confidence of people who knew they only had to look official to scare most folks. They began photographing my dock, pointing at random things, scribbling nonsense, while Beverly stood back like a general overseeing a battlefield. She said, "Your dock violates community aesthetic standards. Immediate modification is required." I asked, "Show me the regulation." She hesitated just a flicker. "Documentation is available after compliance." Translation. She had nothing. I pulled out my phone. "All right then, I'll call county planning and confirm." Her eyes widened. "That won't be necessary." But it was necessary. For her, and she knew it. Later that afternoon, a nervous young father named Nathan showed up on my porch holding a clipboard. "Beverly asked me to collect signatures for property standards," he muttered. "She said, if I don't help, she might file noise complaints about our kids." Every conversation revealed another layer of fear in this neighborhood. People didn't follow Beverly, they survived her. That night my phone rang. Sheriff Morrison wanted me to come in and discuss community disruptions. Beverly had filed multiple complaints. Not one, not two, a stack. All accusing me of trespassing, illegal construction, and hostility toward HOA leadership. When I met the sheriff the next morning, his office walls had photos of Beverly at fundraisers and community events. He spoke about her like she was the Mother Teresa of lakefront property management. I laid my official county maps on his desk, laid out the legal boundaries, explained my property wasn't and had never been under HOA control. He looked genuinely surprised, but uncomfortable. He didn't want to fight. He wanted harmony in his little town, not a legal war. He said maybe just work it out with Beverly. Work it out. With a woman whose hand-drawn map had more fiction in it than a children's coloring book. I left the station feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Not anger, not even fear, but something worse. Doubt. For a moment I wondered if I was the problem, if pushing back would make things worse, if maybe the peace I wanted so badly wasn't worth the headache. I'd spent decades dealing with criminals, emergencies, bureaucracy. Did I really want my retirement to turn into another damn investigation? There was a moment, a long, quiet moment where I considered just paying the stupid fee, just throwing money at the problem so I could sit on my dock and breathe. But then I thought of Margaret, of Nathan, of the families who'd moved away, of the 8 years Beverly had spent tightening her grip around this community like a snake. I realized something. If I backed down, I'd be just another name on her list. And I've never been good at surrender. Which brings us to the most dramatic afternoon of my entire retirement. I was sorting paperwork inside when I heard yelling. I stepped outside and saw Beverly in my driveway surrounded by at least 15 neighbors. She held her phone high like a trophy. "This man refuses compliance," she announced to the crowd. "He is trespassing on HOA common areas and threatening our community systems. We are contacting law enforcement." I opened my mouth to speak, but she was already dialing 911 on speaker so everyone could hear. "Yes, we need officers immediately. A resident is trespassing, harassing neighbors, and refusing lawful community membership." By the time she hung up, several people looked at me like I was a criminal. Beverly stood triumphant, binder clutched to her chest puffed out like she'd already won. 10 minutes later, 2 squad cars rolled in, lights flashing. The crowd parted like a movie scene as Officers Reed and Sullivan stepped out, hands resting near their holsters. Not aggressive, but ready. Beverly rushed them, shoving her binder into their hands. "Officers, thank God. This man is trespassing on HOA property and refuses to comply with our community requirements." They turned to me. "Sir, can you step forward so we can talk?" I did. Calmly, slowly. Every eye in the neighborhood was on me. I said, "Before we go any further, you'll want to see this." I laid out the county survey maps on the hood of the patrol car. The officers leaned in, studied the documents, traced the lines with their fingers. "Ma'am," Officer Reed said carefully, "these show his property is outside HOA boundaries." Beverly's voice jumped an octave. "Those documents don't reflect community realities. Our boundaries extend 5 feet onto his land. They always have." "That's not how legal jurisdiction works," the officer replied. She tried again. Well, he's been hostile. He lies about being law enforcement. He could be a mall cop for all we know." I raised an eyebrow. "Really? Mall cop?" The officers looked at me again, searching for any sign of threat, any reason to escalate. Before they could decide, Beverly shouted, "If you won't arrest him, I'll make a citizen's arrest myself." She lunged toward me. Officer Sullivan stepped between us instantly. "Ma'am, step back. Now." And that was it. That was the line. She'd crossed it. I exhaled slowly, reached into my wallet, and held up something that caught the sunlight just right, a gold shield that shut the entire world down. "Before this goes any further," I said, "I should probably introduce myself properly." Silence. Actual silence. Even the birds seemed to stop. "Lieutenant Colonel Tyler Dawson, State Police, 30 years. Beverly's face lost all color. Her jaw dropped. Her hand, frozen in midair, trembled like her whole body had been unplugged. The officers straightened immediately. "Sir, we had no idea." "I know," I said, "and you handled yourselves professionally. But Beverly..." She looked like someone had sucked the oxygen out of her lungs. Then came the collapse. Margaret stepped forward, voice shaking. "Beverly charged me $6,500 when my husband died. She said I'd lose my home if I didn't pay." Nathan spoke up. "She took $4,200 from us, threatened to report our kids for noise." Claire added, "She told us lakefront residents had to join. We didn't know." Voices began rising. Neighbors stepping forward one after another, each telling their own horror story. Fees, threats, property damage, years of intimidation. Beverly spun in circles, shouting, "They're lying." They all agreed. They paid willingly. Officer Reed said, "Ma'am, this sounds like fraud." Officer Sullivan added, "And filing false police reports is a criminal offense." Beverly backed away as if surrounded. "You can't arrest me. I'm the HOA president. I run this community." But the officers had already moved in. They took her wrists gently but firmly. "Beverly Cromwell, you're under arrest." She screamed, cried, begged, accused the entire neighborhood of betraying her, tried to twist the story into some noble sacrifice she'd made for property values. It didn't matter. The handcuffs clicked. The crowd watched silently, years of fear breaking apart like glass. Beverly was placed in the back of the patrol car, eyes wide mouth, trembling, still whispering, "This can't be happening. Not to me." But it was. And just like that, her kingdom was gone. Just before the car door closed, she looked at me. Anger, fear, disbelief, all tangled together, and whispered, "You ruined everything." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The truth was right there in the silence between us. She hadn't lost because of me. She'd lost because she finally met someone she couldn't intimidate. And as the patrol car rolled away, lights flashing against the lake, the neighborhood stood still, caught between shock and relief, realizing the storm was finally over. Justice doesn't always come fast, but when it does, it hits like a hammer. And here's the lesson: bullies thrive on fear until somebody stops being afraid.